Hello all, I'm exceptionally lucky to demonstrate you all steps to build Kubernetes cluster on Ubuntu instance. And in this tutorial I will use AWS, and from here I go into EC2. It is a cloud computing service from AWS. And then what I need to do is to create a new instances. So I think I will use an Ubuntu 18.04. This is what I will need to select, and this is what I'm doing right now. So I want to avoid high bills, and I want to make a Kubernetes and at least $0 USD. So I'm using T3 small family for my instance. Okay, and so go next. And the next what I have to do is to select a number of instance. And what that means, I need to create a 3 instances, because the first one should be dedicated for master node, and rest 2 will be dedicated for worker nodes. Okay, the first one is for master nodes, the second one is for worker node, and the third one is for worker node. So in total we are having 3 instances. Yeah, okay, I'm closing it, and then I go to next. About storage, default settings are good for me. So going to security group, and in security group be careful and select one of default group, and be sure that you are selected all traffic. This is the first row in my window, and SSH permission for your instances. That means that you'll be allowed to connect your instances by your terminal from your local computer. This is what I will do in the next part in this tutorial. Okay, going to review and launch. That's good, and then I want to launch my instances. And before launching, I need to create a new pair care. What does mean? This is a key that I use for my connection from my terminal. And let's say I want to name it as Kubernetes deployment from terminal, and that's it. I'm downloading this key. Yep, and I want to launch my instances. Okay, my instances are launching. It's here. I want to refresh to be sure that my instances are running. Okay, all 3 instances that I just created are running. So remember, the first one will be dedicated for master node. The second one will be dedicated for worker 1. And the last one will be dedicated for worker 2. That's it. And the part 1 is done. And in the next part, I need to log into my instances and set up my Kubernetes service on these instances. So let's go there. So welcome to the second part in this video, and in this part we will connect to our instances. And just remember, the first instance will be dedicated for master node, the second instance for worker 1 node, and the last instance is dedicated for worker number 2. So, and how we can connect to our instances. And please keep in mind that all instances has a public address, and these public addresses will be used for connection. And secondly, what I need to tell you that you should put your private key in a specified directory in anywhere in your computer, and then you should go to the terminal and to go to the same directory as your primary key is located. And this is my directory, and in this directory I will use my primary key for connection. And how I can do it? And first thing, you need to make your primary key executable. And how you can do it? chmod and then 400 and then the name of your primary key, and that's it. And then you can check that the permissions of your primary key is good for execution. You should see the same permission on your side also. And the next step is to make a connection. And for connection, I'm using my Mac. Or on Windows, if you're using Windows, you should use a PuTTY service. You can download it free from the internet. You can find a link to my description of this video. And then we are ready to make a connection. And connection can be made in simple way if you are using a Mac. So SSH and then -i and then the name of your private key and then Ubuntu, and then you should copy and paste the IP of your instance. So I copy and paste it for all my instances. So look, for master node I'm using this IP, just copy and paste. For worker node I'm using this IP, and for worker number 2 I'm using this IP, and trying to connect. Yep, I agree with the worker number 1 and agree with the worker number 2. That's it, we have just connected to our instances and we are ready to set up the Kubernetes. Let's go. So finally in this part we are basically working on these 3 terminal windows. And okay, we can clear all the windows for making all the steps more clear. And first thing what we need to do is to install the package list that we will use, and we using a sudo apt and then get update. This is for master node, for worker node, and for worker number 2. It's done for the master, done for the worker number 1, and done for the worker number 2. Okay, we can clear the screen again. That's it. And the next what we have to do is to install a Docker, and we can use a sudo apt and get install and docker.io, and that's it, and it should work. Yep, it's working, and we have to do it for all 3 instances. Okay, I agree with the conditions that it's using additional space on my instance. Yes, I'm fine with it, and the same with worker number 1 and the same with the worker number 2. So it is installing, it should work. Just wait a couple of seconds and it will be done in a few seconds. Still waiting. Yes, it's processing triggers for something in our Ubuntu, and let's wait a little bit. Yes, it's done for the master, it's done for the worker number 1, and done for the worker number 2. So to be sure that our installation is working fine, we can check the Docker version. So sudo docker -- and version. It's working for master, it's working for the worker number 1, and working for worker number 2. So as you can see, we are using our Docker 20.10.7 version. That's fine. So again, we can clear the screen and go next. So, and in this step we have to start and enable our Docker. So once you install a Docker in the previous step, you should to start and enable for work by type and this command. So and sudo and then system ctl and then enable and Docker. It's working. Then I do the same for worker number 1, for worker number 2. Okay, then sudo systemctl and status docker. Yep, I see it's running. Yep, running on the worker number 1, working on the worker number 2. Okay, it's fine. Okay, and then look, if it's not running, you can write a sudo systemctl and then start docker. Yeah, I want to be sure that it's working fine on my instances, so I executing this command again, so I'm sure that my docker is running on all my instances. So I'm clearing my screens. It was simple, so go next to the next step. And now we are jumping into a very important step, and now we will install a Kubernetes. And for this I'm using a command pasted from my notes, so you can find the exact command that you can paste from the description of this video. So I'm going to add this command, and what this command is meaning. This command is meaning that since you are downloading a Kubernetes from a non-started repository, it is essential to ensure that the software is authentic. So we need to add a signing key with extension GPG. Yeah, this one. So I need to add it to my instance. Yes, you see the OK statement looks nice on the worker node, and the second one is here. Okay, for the master is okay, for the worker number 1 is okay, for the worker number 2 is okay also. So it's fine. I clear the screen like this, and then once you successfully added the signing key, you have to add a software repository with the following command. I'm using a sudo apt add repository dep and http apt kubernetes io kubernetes channel main. So I'm using it for all my instances like this, and like this. For master is done, for worker 1 is done, and for worker number 2 is also done. So we have successfully installed our Kubernetes on our instances. We can clear the screen. Yep, and yes. So, and the next step is to prepare Kubernetes installation tools. So go to this part. So more further we go and more fun we have. And in this part we will prepare a Kubernetes installation tools, and here we will install a kubeadm, kubelet and kubectl tools. And these tools are required for cluster installation and managing. To install all these tools, you need to add and enter the following commands. And okay, I want to write it by my keyboard. It's a sudo apt and then get, and I want firstly to get a kubeadm. It is for administration purpose. Then kubelet, yes, kubelet, and then kubectl. Okay, let's try to do it. Okay, for the master is looking good, for the worker number 1 is also, and for the worker number 2 also. So I agree here, I agree with the conditions in here, and I agree with the conditions for the worker number 3. Okay, it's still installing and installing for the node dedicated for worker number 3, and for master and worker number 1 is done, and for worker number 2 is also done. Okay, so I clearing and clearing. Okay, and after this I want to be sure that all these tools are being on hold. That means that these all tools are being activated. So sudo apt mark and then hold, so kubeadm, kubelet, and then kubectl. Yeah, and they all are on hold. That means they are working and they are activated. For worker number 1 the same, and for worker number 2 is also the same. So far so good. So I'm clearing again and again. So jump straight forward to the next stage. So when you have completed a previous command, be sure that the installation was successful. To do it, verify the installation and check the version of installed kubeadm with the following command. It is very simple. So sudo kubeadm and version. Yep. In here, this one, and for worker number 2, you can see the version that I'm using. In the moment that you are working on the tutorial, you can get a different version, but it means the same, that it's working. So I'm clearing again and here. And next thing what we have to do in here is to start a deployment process of our Kubernetes. And the first thing in here is to disable the swap memory from each node. And let's do it's very simple, and sudo swap off and then -a. Yep, it's no error. The same and the same. Okay, clearing. Okay, and after this it's a good time to set a host name for each node. Remember, this one is for master, this one is for worker number 1, this one is for worker number 2. So let's set a host name for each of these nodes. So sudo host name, yeah, and ctl. So set host name, and this one will be a master node. Yep. So I want to copy and paste this command to the next node. This one will be a worker 1. Yeah, worker 1, and this one will be yep, worker second 1. Yeah, it's quite simple. Master node, worker number 1, and worker number 2. Clear, and clear. So how you're feeling now? And we are on the special step. It is dedicated for workaround, and this step is optional, but I always do this step because if I don't, I will get some errors in the next steps because of some mismatches between kubeadm and the Docker drivers inside my instance, inside my nodes. And the main idea of this workaround is to create a magic daemon.json file and to reset Docker and kubeadm on my instance. And that's what I will do. And I always get an error, and I always do this workaround to be sure that the initialization of the clusters in my instance will be successful. So I go to the special directory dedicated for Docker. It is on system files, and then I selecting the Docker folder, and then I am seeing that this is one file is a key.json, and what I want to do is on Docker directory that you are seeing here to create a next file, a second one file. It is a daemon.json. This is what I'm doing right now. It's a daemon.json, and then yes, the file should be created. Okay, sudo, and I'm opening it for editing. Yes, opening, and then I need to copy and paste the magic lines of codes. Yes, exactly like this. And then I want to exit with saving, yeah, and do the same with the worker number 1. And before that, I need to check that the saving was successful, and I'm doing a sudo cat and daemon.json. Yes, the content is inside this file is good, so I need to do the same on our nodes. So let's go to the worker number 1. So on worker number 1, I am doing the same. I straightforward go to the same directory. Yeah, it is here, it's a Docker directory, and then I'm checking that it is the same directory, is etc docker, and then I am creating a daemon.json, and in here I am pasting the same lines of codes and exit with saving, yeah, and it's saved. So I always want to be sure that is saved successful, and yeah, the content is inside. Then do the same with the last node, is the worker number 2. So I need to go to the same directory for Docker. Yes, and then as for the master and worker number 1, I need to create a daemon.json file. Yeah, like this, and then open it for editing. I guess you got idea, is to create a, let's say, a special file that will be used for solving mismatches between drivers. So I'm doing the same on the worker number 2, and that's it for workaround steps. I always do it. So I'm just checking that the last file was saved successful and the content is inside. So I'm happy with what I did, and now what I need to do after this workaround step is to reset the Docker and kubeadm. This is what I will do right now, and for this I will use a special command from system. It is a sudo and then system ctl restart Docker. I'm restarting the Docker. No errors, that's good. So I'm restarting for worker number 1, no errors. For worker number 2 is also no errors. So then I need to restart kubeadm and sudo kubeadm reset. Agree with the conditions, the same with worker number 1. Yes, agree with the conditions, and for last node doing the same, resetting kubeadm, and yes, I'm agree with the conditions. So the workaround steps is fully completed without any issues. So I'm happy. So I'm feeling that I'm ready to go move forward. So see you there. Okay, and we have done a lot of so far, and now I think it is the most important step in this tutorial. We will initialize a master node in our instance. That means that we will tell to the system that in here we will have a master, in here we will have a worker number 1, and in here we will have a worker number 2. And the first thing what we have to do in here is to initialize the master node. And with this step we will create a port network in your master node, which is required for cluster communication with its nodes. And you can initialize your Kubernetes port network on your master node by this command. And keep in mind that you must do this execution only for master node. So be careful and do the same as like me. So sudo kubeadm initialization, it is init, then double dashes pod network, then dash, and then CIDR, and then it will be a IP address for internal network. It is 10.244 and then 0, then 0, and addend 16. Okay, press enter and stay tuned. Okay, it's running. It can take a couple of minutes or less or more, and please be patient on this step, and let's wait until the execution will be finished. Okay, we're still waiting. It can take less or more 1 minute. Okay, it's going. Finally, yes, this is what I have been waiting for. And if you see the same, you are lucky. You just have initialized your master node officially on your cluster. Just what you have to do, please copy and paste this command in your notes somewhere. I don't know where, in Word, in some of your private notes, anywhere. But look, what we have did so far, we have initialized a master node, and if you read carefully this message, what you have to do, you need to create some directory in your master, and then you should join your worker nodes to your master node. This is what we have to do right now. So just copy and paste this command. Yes, just copy and pasting, not thinking too much about it. Yes, okay, no errors. I did it on the master node. Oh, I see that I have some network issues, and okay, it's broken pipe on my connection. So okay, I cleared the screen, and I want to connect to my instance again. What is the internal public IP? It's 18.101.213.217. Okay, and where is it? This one. Yep. Okay, I'm connected again to my master node, and so I can to continue my work on the master node. So this is why I always suggest to copy and paste the main command with generated token in your nodes to avoid some inconvenience in case of such issues that I had right now. Okay, so we are keeping working on the master node, and so as has just we have deployed a port network to our cluster, we need to use some virtual network for communication. And for this tutorial we are using a flannel virtual network. I'm guessing you will find that in our tutorials from other providers you'll get the same solution. So in my master node I'm using a kubectl apply and initializing this flannel network with YAML file in my master node. This is what I'm doing right now, and you can see that is daemon set apps Kubernetes flannel DC is being created. This is what I need right now, and the next thing is no error right here. I can to check what the ports I having right now. It's a sudo kubectl ctl, and then get ports all namespace. So I see that my flannel virtual network is running, so we can to make a joining procedures to the master node from worker nodes. And so let's do it. And for this I need to come back to my nodes, and in this step I am using this token, and this command which is using this token is generated in the previous step. One thing, I need to make a one single line from multiple lines in order to correctly use in the terminal. and then I'm copy and pasting my terminal. I miss a sudo right here, so I'm writing a sudo and copy and paste again, and yeah, just wait a second and it should be working. And yes, I see that the message tell me that this node is successfully joined to the master node. I have do the same with the worker number 2, so also sudo and copy and paste the command, and then okay, it should be working also. And yes, this node is successfully joined to the master node, so I feel the finish line is nearby. So let's go to the final stage. So, and the final step is to be sure that we have officially one master node with connected 2 worker nodes. And okay, I am clearing the screen, I think the last time in this video. And how I can to check it? It's very simple. Just switch activated your master node and sudo kubectl get nodes. It's very simple command. Yes, it's very cool. You can see that we are having a master node is ready, worker number 1 is ready, worker number 2 is also ready. We have successfully deployed our Kubernetes cluster with a master node and 2 worker nodes. That is the goal of this tutorial, and I really congratulate you with the finish line. We made a big job. So that's it for this video, and as the bonus I want to show you the special GitHub repository which I made specially for you, and there I placed all the steps which I made in this tutorial. And in here we spent more than half an hour, but in the Git repo you can find very clear explaining all the steps which you can make sequentially. And that's it. So never stop learning, bye bye, and see you on the next video.